Good evening and welcome to another MTV Community Forum. I'm your host Byron Campbell and of course Chris DR.JUSTINE, our co-host. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Byron, and welcome to our listeners and viewers on MTV Community Forum. We're happy to have you here and to be here again doing our program. And I want to start off this program this evening, viewers, if you would bear with me. We have October 25th coming up. And I want the camera to take this. This is a Nation newspaper that came from the archives of my host friend Byron. And it's dated Tuesday, October the 25th, 1983. And the front page says, G-Day, Joint Offensive in Dawn Punks. And, you know, interestingly, to the back and to the rear, it has Maggie Doubtful, and it reads, London, the British government today distanced itself from the United States-led invasion of Grenada and Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher told Parliament she warned President Reagan of the very considerable doubts about the action. This is an interesting paper, Byron.
And it's an original, you know.
Yeah. You know, I think the entire paper is devoted to
the invasion.
Intervention, yeah.
Well, you said the intervention, I said the invasion.
Right,
because there's a difference here, you know. And let's be clear about that. So you want to call it intervention? I'm going to call it invasion. Or you want to change your mind about it?
No.
Okay. So Chris, yes. So we have October 25th. What anniversary is it? I've lost count.
40 something years. I mean,
43.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah. But what's interesting, Chris, is that we are now calling this day Thanksgiving Day. And not for me, Chris. Yeah. I think, we need to rethink this really, Thanksgiving, because when we say Thanksgiving, we're giving the United States, we're thanking them forever for an invasion, something they did in their national security interests. Mm-hmm. Be clear about it. It didn't have much to do with
releasing us from the bondage.
But it's interesting, Chris, too, that this report here is another report. It's a preliminary report put out by the Department of Defense, the United States, the invading forces at the time. Mm-hmm. This is the preliminary report. And in this report, which was released in October 29, on December the 16th, 1983, less than 2 months later, they seek to give the reasons for the invasion of Grenada. And they give three considerations, they said. And one, they said, the responsibility to protect U.S. citizens on the island. But that's a facade, because there was a report and there was an investigation which said that only 10% of the students wanted to leave the island at the time. And they could have. The RMC at the time gave full permission for that to happen. But it would appear that the US wasn't interested in that because they wanted to maintain this as an excuse. So it was important that the students were here because pearls had opened before the 25th. The second reason they gave was to protect, a request from the OECS nations and the Governor General appeal. So that's the three reasons. First of all, the Governor General appeal came, as far as I know in the investigation, came after the invasion when he was on one of the battleships. And interesting, there was a report on New York Times that said so. And regarding the OECS request, that's questionable because that request, that arrangement they have, all the OECS countries had to give permission. Grenada didn't. So it meant that request was null and void since Grenada itself could not give that request. And that was the legal argument. But it's interesting that Britain, so if Sir Paul Schoon really was interested in bringing peace or tranquility, why didn't he go? He was acting on behalf of the Queen. He didn't go to her because Britain was opposed to the invasion. He went to the United States. But what's interesting in this report, Chris, is that it went on. It went on to talk about how the U.S. saw Grenada, because it talks about the let me get it here. It talks about Point Saline Airport. Yeah. Which they felt was a landing site to go to Africa, Russia and Cuba, and the presence of Russia and the Soviet Union, at the time. This is the middle of the Cold War, so it had everything to do with the U.S. interest. We gave them the opportunity because of the conflict within our own country. So we need to be clear on this. So I am somewhat embarrassed, ashamed, Chris, personally here, when you talk about
Thanksgiving.
We need to fix this, really.
What about Heroes Day? Heroes Day was celebrated.
Well, yeah, Chris, that's the other
on the
thing.
Saturday or the Sunday. And I'm told, and I could be wrong, I could be corrected, that the heroes announced was Sir Eric Matthew Gary, Bishop himself, Kerani James, and I'm not sure if there were any other.
So how we got these heroes? I thought a year ago the government said they were setting up a commission.
Mentioned.
A year ago the government said they were setting up a commission that will set up the procedures and everything that goes with it, how the community is going to be involved, there'll be nominations and whatever. That hasn't happened. So how did we come by these three heroes? Who decided that?
I don't know what that is.
Anyway, but it is what it is. So Saturday's a holiday.
Yes. Well, no, Saturday is not a holiday.
25th.
On a Saturday, but we ain't getting no holiday.
No, but Saturday is a working day for a lot of people. So if it's a Sunday, then you get the Monday off. But it's a Saturday.
Yeah, normal.
Normal. It's a holiday. Yeah. So I won't be recognizing this holiday certainly, Chris. I can tell you that. So Chris, let's move on to one of the key issue here is of course the PM has been out of state. There's been challenges, and of course, Chris. It's important right now that we say our guests on the program will be, well, you announce it, Chris. So.
Yeah, Dr. Justine Pierre, who has been on the program a couple times. Dr. Pierre is going to be joining us a little later in the program to discuss his most recent predictions for Grenada's election in 2027, if it is held in 2027.
Yeah.
So we want to discuss with him discuss how we came up with those figures, and drill him down a little into the areas that he have indicated where he's seen. He is suggesting in the article, and I could let it out, that we may have a coalition government. There's a strong possibility. So we wait for that.
We see that. But Chris, I just want to say though that, because I mean that's going to come, one of the things we want to say, there's been some developments here on the matter. We know that Admiral Hoseley visit. We know that he since retired, but people are saying, I mean, the official news in the US is saying that's a spin. They believe that he was forcibly removed after defying direct operational orders from the president. Of course, the Prime Minister has returned to the state. But what is interesting, he told the nation that the request from the U.S. Southern Command for install military radar in Grenada came since in August of this year. And we only learn about it when it was leaked by the media. So, I mean, he still operated probably on the need to know. So it was felt that the country didn't need to know, so there was no need to tell us. But this is open now, and he said that the position on this would be given on Friday coming in Parliament, but this has now moved to next Friday, the 28th. He will give an update. But there's a rally, there's a peace march tomorrow at 3 p.m. Organized by the Grenada Coalition of Zone of Peace and a group of concerned people. That that's happening tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So it's interesting to see how well this is organized and the participation.
Well, I mean, I understand the Prime Minister, even though it was in August. Not everything that comes to the country with a military or security background is for the press, and it's for the public consumption. So I could understand that may have come in August, and there wasn't a need to inform the public of the greater issues that this may carry. So that is reasonable in terms of what is there. Of course, the particular need, for a terrestrial asset of a radar to be placed on Point Saline, our major airport. We are a tourism state. We have major flights coming from the US and Europe. And so it's a difficult thing from just touristic point of view. And then you have the medical school, St. George's University right there. So I could understand, but I probably will go into it a little more detail later when I'm dealing with Dr. Pierre's article.
But Chris, what I want to say is that CARICOM has put out a statement, and that statement is saying that they want the region to remain as a zone of peace.
Well, and the OECS too. Dr. JUSTINE spoke about it, that they're not supporting
But Chris, one point I want to make, and that is the geopolitical dimension of this, and the main reason why I believe that the United States we have this build-up in the region, geopolitical. Let me tell you why. Because we know that Venezuela has the largest deposit of oil in the world, 303 billion barrels. It's a lot. The United States their policy towards Venezuela has been for regime change and to isolate, to to see the regime fall by in fact, the other, like Chevron and some of these companies that were operating, they had until April of this year to cease operation and all that. But the interesting what has happened, so that was their policy, but guess what? It created an avenue for China to come into the picture. China has now major investment. The last one is $1 billion US. The Caramaribio oil, the lake, the modern drill is now there. 85% of the oil now being generated, they do about a million barrel a day still. 85% of this oil now goes to fuel, goes to China. You understand? So China has now filled the gap. The US is now recognizing what's happening, so there's a clash of geopolitical.
Yes.
That's what's happening here, and understand this, So it's interesting. So we need to understand the bigger picture around us,
That's what I mean. I want to add to that, of course. Grenada government have, rightfully so, in my opinion, taken the moves to engage nations in Africa. Engage more heavily with nations in Central and South America.
Yes.
Because the U.S. has not been kind to us in recent times with Trump 3.0. And the reality of it is we have to protect our own and find other friends. And that may be angering them as well. And, at the end of the day, this request for this radar to be placed on Grenadian soil is, when you really think about it, is not about military assistance. And in any case, if the U.S. wants to have regime change in Venezuela, let them do it on their own. Your enemies, not necessarily my enemies. Venezuela was very good to get to Grenada and Petrocaribe when the issues when oil prices were, was heading way out of reach. And we still owing them on the Petrocaribe money for what
a lot of millions.
Yeah, so I mean, why should we be complicit or join in somebody who is your enemy to assist?
You want to be non-aligned. That's important.
Correct.
Don't want to get into this.
Again, I'll bring it up with Justin Pierre.
Yeah, sure. Look, Chris, I mean, locally here, we had some illegal dumping in Calvin. It continues. It's something that started before. I don't know if there's some pictures of it. But
I took some pictures. I don't know if the team could put it up, but it's
clearly, it's unsightly. It's
Yes. We started with this thing on the Calvin Main Road between Fort Judy Gap and Marian Gap. Well, further up to Marian. But
there's it,
there's a major dumping of trash. They have concrete debris, mud, soil, and they're just extending it down, right? So they just keep extending it down. It's unsightly, and it could pose traffic issues. And we have people just, they have the tent, they're setting up trucks, park up there to have meals and, congesting the traffic. And even in Fort Judy, if they park anyhow, so sometimes our road in Fort Judy limited to one lane. And the government is doing nothing. Nobody ain't see nobody from PPA come and say this is illegal, put up a sign, no dumping is to be allowed here, and so forth. It's just as though anything goes on, it's like we are a lawless state.
Chris, and I'm using the opportunity again to talk about the carnage. Chris, the carnage is dangerous for pedestrians, for locals, for tourists. We need some immediate, even though it's some temporary fix, it's urgent, Chris. And parts of the city also. It's really urgent.
Teachers ain't getting paid.
Who says so?
Teachers ain't get paid.
That's not true. Why are you spreading gander here?
Because the union president came out and had a thing saying that they asking the teachers to be patient, because I don't think they have gotten paid since what month are we now? October?
Is that true?
He said in a press release that the government, they're working on it and so on, and to give them have some patience. But I think they have not been paid for September and October.
I don't believe that.
Yes. Go back and check it. You could ask the team when we go on break.
Yeah, I think.
If that is so, and when we come back,
I need to verify this, Chris, before I tell the listeners the viewers to believe it.
But it was on public consumption.
I didn't hear that.
But I want to bring up the thing with marketing board.
Yeah,
I want to go to marketing.
I was told it was on TV news, so that's not good enough, though. What reasons did the government give, Chris?
Well, the government is saying that it's processing. Of course, they're blaming the department. They're not preparing things on time and so forth and so on. But that excuse came already before when they were slow in meeting compensation. So the question becomes, is it a cash flow crunch? What is happening? Because there are local suppliers to government who have not been paid as well. So you're wondering if there is a cash flow crunch that the government is seeing and what is happening. Anyway, that is something we could take up when we come to talk about budget.
Sure, Chris. And I know, Chris, I talk about MNIB all the time. The farmers really need it. They're crying out for it. It's important because there's a lot of marketing issues faced by the farmers. There's supplies and there's demand, but the marketing arrangement, the absence of the marketing board, you can really feel the absence of this important organization. And I really hope that the team or the people working on this, it's a long time.
But I think Mr. Chris Diriggs and Senator Rahman did a press conference which indicated what they were doing. And I could remember clearly in the press conference they said they would have a report within a week or less on the way forward and the prospective person that they're engaging to form the partnership to take over marketing board, would have dotted all their I's and crossed their T's, but we haven't seen that. I mean, this is months since the press conference.
But what the Prime Minister, he's responsible for the MNIB, public utilities. What he stated was that the delay, one of the reasons for the delay has to do with the fact that the financial statements for the marketing board is not available. They have to be done. It doesn't make any sense to me personally, But anyway, we just need a solutions here for the farmers.
There were financial reports done for marketing board. They probably the more recent ones.
That was his statement.
The more recent ones probably were delayed, but there was an accounting firm handling it and all of that. And probably they probably have drafts. They're probably not fully audited, but they have drafts. So that excuse sounds a bit weak to me.
Yeah, it's frivolous.
And if you have a partner that's coming in to do their own review, they would have met you, with the financial or the board, that marketing board exists now, with who is there, to understand the finances and what is happening and get a picture of what the overall situation is with marketing board.
Of course. So on that note, they have not met their deadlines. What I hear is an excuse or excuses, Anyway, Chris, I mean, there's more we could talk about, but let us take a break here, and viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back with Dr. Justine Pierre. Stay with us. Bye-bye.
Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, see our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, we're taking care of Grenada.
Clique Entertainment welcomes you to the 2025 edition of Uncorked Beer and Wine Fest, an evening to remember with live entertainment, music, and good company. Join us on Saturday, October 25th at Quarantine Recreational Park from 5 p.m. to midnight. Early birds snag their tickets for just $50. Then regular tickets are $60 or pay more at the gate. Our festival brings together the finest brews, curated wines, live tunes, and food that pairs perfectly with every glass. Your entertainment for the night is Sakina and the A1 Band, along with Rita and the Ultimate Perfection Band. DJ cast includes none other than King Turbo, Selecta Snappy, and DJ Danny. Uncorked Beer and Wine Fest, Saturday, October 25th, Quarantine Recreational Park, 5 p.m. to midnight. Limited tickets available online at gotofet.com, or you can go down to Esther's Bar, Grand Anse Beach, Grenadian Optical, St. George and Grand Anse, Double Up and Chucky's Bar in St. George's, St. Andrew's Pharmacy, Grenville, or any Clique Entertainment members. Come sip, savor, celebrate at Uncorked Beer and Wine Fest 2025.
For 35 years, one name has stood with us. Through the storms and sunshine, we've been by your side. Whether you're on the road, at sea, on site, or at home, with Grenadian General Insurance, confidence comes standard. It's never been a better time to renew and update for added benefits. Join us in celebrating 35 years of safeguarding what matters most. Grenadian General Insurance, 35 years strong. Visit Grenadian General Insurance on Scott Street, St. George's. Call us at 440-2434 or visit GrenadianGeneral.GD to get the coverage you need.
Welcome back, viewers, to our community forum. As we indicated a little earlier, our guest this evening is Dr. Justine Pierre, who is a statistician, for want of other titles that he carries. He's CEO of his company that does statistical analysis, particularly on political situations in the area, and in the Caribbean and CARICOM as well. And he also recently wrote a paper on why Grenada should say yes to the request made by the U.S. for putting a terrestrial radar on our land. So, Dr. Pierre, good evening. Welcome to our program.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Can you see me well?
Yes, we see and hearing you well.
Yes.
So
Good night.
I am going to start off with your paper that you wrote on why Grenada should say yes to the request made.
Okay.
And we'll bring in the politics a little later, Byron and myself, on your recent predictions, which we think is very interesting and is going to generate a lot of interest. But in your paper, you cited that, we as a country, we should consider saying yes to the request made by the U.S. And I saw your paper, and there are a couple of things I felt I needed to get clarity from you on. The first one is understanding the U.S. and the amount of military assets they have in the area, physical. We have boats, we have nuclear-powered submarines, and so on. And couple that with what radar systems they have on these boats. When you look at AWACS that the U.S. does fly over the region, we have satellite imagery that they have over the region. The point here is this request for this asset to be placed on Point Saline. Is it really for wanting of more information or less information? Does it really speak to that, or is it something else the U.S. trying to say to Grenada, you guys probably a little rude, we had to put you back in your box?
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a very loaded question. I wrote the paper. I indicated that there's a lot of benefits. So, for example, we as a country, our economy, tourism, services, very small. Getting a radar system on the country would provide a lot of opportunity, especially for students in their, in the sciences, in telecommunications, So these will give a lot of opportunities to their students. Also, when a radar system comes into the country, it provides a lot of opportunities for the locals, contractors. If, for example, there was one in the I think it's in the Bahamas, where there was a spurt and inject a lot of capital. I think it was about maybe close to $50 million injected into the country. So we as a country, I believe that it is something that is essential. But I also want to say that people have to see it from the broader part of it, the future of Grenada, what Grenada should be. we're seeing it from our own, viewpoint. Yes, we were, we knew what America did, but it is a different story now. Yes, the Cuban helped build the airport, but yes, also the American also completed the airport. So we have to understand that the opportunities that are there for putting the radar, in my opinion, there are more benefits than negatives.
But,
So I
but
believe that. So,
just to say that we currently have radars on Grenada. We have radar systems in country. This is not going to be something that we never seen before. We have radar systems as part of the regional security system. We have radars to look at our borders. We have security treaties with the U.S. where we have exchange of personnel that go to do training, supporting how our SSU services get their technical advice and hardware stuff to them. So we do have existing treaties that could facilitate this. But the issue here is it necessary? Because they have so much assets in the area from that, and when these things come here, to be thing on your point about students and so on, is there access to that? There is a security thing, the radar, and our students don't get access to those kind of things. So the question is, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so there will be, because you see, for example, what we have to look at, we have to let our decision be guided by evidence. Okay, so in other countries where there are U.S. radars, there is a benefit for the country. Okay, and I believe that as a patriotic Grenadian, I want what is best for the country. And what is best for the country, it'll help us in terms of our radar, in terms of our security, because you know that Grenada has a challenges with drugs. It has Grenada is a transit point. There are 4 major transit routes in Grenada. So all of these things will help protect the country for the future.
But just to challenge you on that, I think we confuse what is happening in country with what is happening with the drug trade in the region. So, for example, you say Grenada is cited as a transit point. The U.S. Coast Guard have been running interdiction measures for months, for years in this region, dealing with the interdiction measures. They have all the security assets in place dealing with that. So even though internally we may have an issue with arms and drug flow and so on, but that's an internal issue. There's nothing to confuse with Grenada and the region being an area of peace, and we have all this buildup of assets. So I think that's 2 separate issues. I see your paper try to merge them.
Right. Yes. So what I'm saying is that if having a radar in Grenada would not prevent the Grenada from being a peaceful country. There were many systems, treaties before where radars are installed. There is the radar installed in Grenada and other countries. So having an extra radar or two or three would not prevent the country from being a zone of peace. And this is what we have to look at, what is beneficial for the country. I know my views are opposite to the general public, because from our just from social media, when we look at the social media place, over 70% of the people said no to the radar. But we have to look at it from what is best for the development of the country. So as a patriotic Grenadian,
there's a school of thought. There's a school of thought that speaks to the point of view that the U.S. is trying to get regime change in Venezuela. The U.S. have their own interests. Venezuela is an oil-producing country, massive one and that. And the U.S. wants to get regime change and have their own person put in place. The President Trump has been very open in saying that he has authorized the CIA to do what they have to do to facilitate this. Venezuela has been a friend of Grenada for years through Petro-Caribbean and other initiatives. And if Venezuela is the enemy of the U.S., why should it be the enemy of of Grenada if this radar is to be used in a complicit way to facilitate this regime change in Venezuela? Why should Grenada be part of that?
Well, for example, we do not know if the radar will be used for regime change. Yes, the United States have lots of military assets in the region. They can invade Venezuela without using a Grenadian radar.
So the issue, Doc, is the radar ready for security or other reasons, or is it because Grenada have taken a position recently of getting new friends, Africa, for example, yes, Central and South America. So we are moving away from the North being our greatest friend and giving us all this aid. Under President Trump, U.S. aid is no longer in place. We have lost millions in projects under U.S. aid. So we have to find ways to get monies to support what we want to do socially and otherwise. Is it that this school of thought is that, oh, you guys moving away from us, we need to find a way to put you back in the box?
Yes,
geopolitically.
So that has been a school of thought. Most people are saying, hey, most of my friends, as I said, most of my friends are against me. Said, hey, some person like you should never say that. Grenada does not need a military radar there. U.S. But in the long-term interest, I believe that's just my opinion. I mean, and I believe I have a lot of data to back up what I say, that in the long run we will see that a radar in Grenada would have more benefit than negativity.
And my last comment with you on this before I invite Byron to start the politics. As a sovereign country, we should be able to say no on any request that is made to us without the potential consequences that the U.S. could levy on us, whether it be through tourism, SGU, whether it's visas, remittances, the whole 9 yards. And we should be able to say no without consequences like that coming from a nation that preaches freedom and democracy and so on. We should be free to say that and understand that if we do it, there shouldn't be these things that everybody's predicting the U.S. can do. And I mean, Donald Trump is not he's an erratic man to say the least. So I mean, we do expect that if we were to say no, that he may do those things.
Because you're correct. Because my prediction, and is not scientific, of course. So in my opinion, is that if Grenada is in a very precarious state. If Grenada says no, there will be consequences. If Grenada says yes, there will also be consequences. But however, just for for America is still, even though we have potential relationship with Africa and the global South, but our epicenter of the population, or what we get the revenue, the remittance, there are over 60,000, let's say close to 70,000 Grenadians, including about 60 in the United States. We get a lot of our mostly everything from the United States. And if we try to be, we can go against the United States, but however, it would be not in our best interest. Because we have to, and that's why advice comes in, and that's why the PM need to have a board of people, as a board of advisors around him to provide the necessary advice to him. Because as he mentioned when he had an interview with the influencer, he's new to politics, and that's why we have to help him. And persons like us who know, or who have experience and who may know more, should provide that necessary advice. And I guess, and I hope that he has a band of people around him.
That I totally agree with. Yeah. And to move over into the politics now, I know you're suggesting that, interestingly, we could have a coalition government formed in Grenada based on your predictions.
Yes.
And You have been very accurate in predicting
But
Guyana.
I want to say something.
So-
I want to say something just before. What I want to say is that the issue of taking in refugees, okay, from the third country, from the United States, the issue of taking in refugees is very important for Grenada. And I think I've been saying that a long time, maybe years. The first person I heard said that was someone by the name of Ambrose Phillip. We don't have enough people in Grenada.
Agreed.
We have a fertility rate of I think it's 1.39. Okay, very low fertility rate, and we need more people in Grenada.
That is agreed.
We just need more people, and
Yes.
therefore bringing in migrants would be one of the best migration opportunity that Grenada can undertake in the last 20 years.
We agree on that, definitely. And I have preached that on this program for many a decades.
Yes.
Many a time
So
that we need
tell
to get more people for
Right.
economic and other means,
Right. So-
labor shortages and
Right.
all
So-
sorts of things.
Right. So my advice to the Prime Minister and to the government, as a Labour statistician, as one of maybe the most premier person in this field in the region, that Mr. Prime Minister, you bring in the refugees.
Dr. Pierre.
We need the skilled people in Grenada.
Dr. Pierre, we want to move on a bit. So here's the thing here. So
Yeah.
so you've been remarkably accurate in forecasting elections results across the Caribbean, including Grenada's 2022 outcome. And you've been accurate with Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Guyana, and other territories. Tell us a bit about that model. What kind of data do you collect? How do you translate that into election forecast? Tell us a bit about analysis. How does this work? What about the method that you use, sir?
Okay, then. Well, that's a very good question. Okay, Byron, thank you very much. And Chris, thank you very much for having me again.
No problem.
I believe this is my third time on your show.
Yes.
And we wrote a paper about based on the outcome. And, I have a lot of friends who are NDC supporters. I mean, they're on me. I have a lot of friends who are NNP supporters. They're on me. Everybody is against me. Okay. But I just want to tell people that we have predicted maybe 8 successful elections. We have never been wrong. Okay? We could be right in the future, of course. I mean, we could be wrong in the future, of course, yes. But we have never been wrong. What we do as a company, so just to give you a little idea, so we are a research firm. We basically specialize in something called, technical vocational education and training. That is something called TVET. And within TVET, within CARICOM, within the Treaty of Chaguaramas, our founding fathers said that all skills training in the country must be conducted under something called competency-based education and training. And from that phase, we move on to wider into data collections. We conduct surveys, and we have done many surveys within the Global South. But since 2018, we have been developing a new type of analysis, a new type of research called psephology. So psephology, I will spell it for most people. Psephology is P-S-E-P-H-O-L-O-G-Y, psephology. So psephology is the scientific study of elections, voting behavior, and electoral trends. So what we do, we not necessarily poll. We do not necessarily poll. We conduct a science. Okay. So psephology, it's applied principles from political science, sociology, statistics, mathematics to sort of understand why people vote, how they vote. Okay, and the whole science of voting. So the idea of psephology was really first developed by a Russian scientist, but really brought into light in the late 40s and early 50s from Oxford University. So persons who may be interested in the course may go to Oxford University. Then there is a course on that. But the Indian government has really taken this subject into a new world, especially where there is big data and AI. So with psephology, we understand the voting behavior. We look at the whole issue of election focusing. When we go into a country, we will look at what is called the voter universe. So it's not polling. So a voter universe, every country has a voter universe. So for example, let's say Grenada. Grenada has maybe 21 layers of voter universe. So for example, you may say, you may characterize people by, let's say, by the parishes, 6 parishes, Carriacou. You may characterize people by, or group people based on the 15 constituencies. So you group people in that. Based on the age, the sex, you may group people by the 132 polling stations in the country.
Doc, I want to move on because we have a lot to cover. I mean, we understand the fundamentals of this. I would like to move on, Doc. One of the things I want to go, the Prime Minister frequents overseas travel has drawn both praise and criticism. Some say it raises Grenada's profile, others say it weakens domestic leadership. What does your data show about how Grenadians perceive the Prime Minister's travel? And can you quantify any tangible benefits from the trips, the investment, the grants and partnership? Do you think that these extensive travel erode political support ahead of 2026 election? How do you see this whole sphere operating here?
Right, good. So that's a very, very good question. Okay, and as I said, my paper, my research paper has taken a lot of criticism, but what I do is that I make decisions not necessarily on emotions, but facts, data. So let's look at their data. Okay, let's look at the data with regard to the Prime Minister. So what we have done, we have pulled up from the Gazette information, information from the press, from the press releases, and what we have found is that, I mean, the Prime Minister has been in office for about 3 years and 4 months, which is approximately 1,215 days. So imagine, let's just look at the data, let the data. So from that 1,250 days, on average, the Prime Minister has left, which is about 3 years and 4 months, the Prime Minister has left the country about 51 times.
Wow.
So on average, when you look at in terms of some of the statistics from his travel, if you add up those 51 times, he spent on average about between 6 and 8 days away. That adds up to 408 days the Prime Minister has spent abroad. Almost 1/3 of the time in office he has spent abroad. Okay, but so I mean, I want you to take that in. So 1/3, you hire a CEO to run your country. Based on governance and leadership, most leaders govern inside the country, not outside. So the 1/3 of the time, the Prime Minister has been outside of the country. And I'm saying that as a citizen. I'm saying that as one of the biggest supporters of the Prime Minister, because as I said, I am a patriot and I want my country to do better. But look at the fact. An average month for any civil servants is 22 days in a month. The Prime Minister has left the country at least twice per month, and he stays outside the country at least 10 days in a month. So literally, he has been away from the country almost 50% of the time he has been in office in terms of work. And that, I believe, is a cause of concern. And the majority of the population is saying that the Prime Minister needs to be home. The Prime Minister needs to be home. And the situation with America and the radar, the country were concerned. We calculated there were over 21,000 issues and remarks on social media about either concerns or negative remarks about the Prime Minister abroad. He did not, speak to the people. People wanted to hear the Prime Minister. People wanted to hear the leader. People wanted assurance that everything will be okay.
But Dr. Pierre, here's a paradox. Here's a situation, paradox that he still remains high popularity. He's still extremely popular. My information is that his popularity is in the high 60s. But you're saying that is there an uneven performance with this? Is it how do you view his performance, particularly in the sense of the 9 or so portfolios that he's responsible for? Right. What's your assessment there on the data? What's the data showing on this matter? Right.
Yeah. So let's as I tell all my supporters, both from the NNP and the NDC and all the other parties, please do not come at me. Okay, it's not me. Let's look at the data. So because the Prime Minister goes away at 50% of his work time is abroad traveling. And for example, the expenses. And we calculated, okay, we calculated average cost for an overseas trip, 8 days, first class. Okay, it is run in the vicinity of over $860,000 over the last 3 years. So it's very costly for the government. And what we're saying, because of the constant traveling, it is putting a damper, a challenge for the Prime Minister to, in my opinion, and from the data, we interviewed 64 persons in the various ministries, okay, from August the 8th to September 30th. And also in addition to that, we ran a lot of some of the Markov models to indicate that his portfolios, because of the constant travel, his portfolios, 9 out of his portfolios most of his portfolios are not where it should be. In fact, the Prime Minister manages 11 portfolios. So he manages the 9 main portfolios, but he also manages the Prime Ministership. Okay? And also he manages his constituency. So it's very, very, very difficult for him to manage. And our markup models indicated that he has been, deficient in many of the areas. So, for example, areas like public infrastructure. When we ran the markup model, he's operating at 37%. Public utilities, 35%. Civil aviation. The one that has done the most is in information. But most of the other ministries are underperforming. And this is an opportunity for us, for I as a patriot, as someone who supports the Prime Minister. I mean, he's sexy, he's a great guy, but he needs to stay in the country and he needs to work. And we're asking his advisors to please guide him. Because he says, when he interviewed with the influencer, that he's new to this. So it's not his fault.
So question here is the government. Question, Doc, is the government communication strategy contributing to its popularity, or you think it's masking on the performance, as you're saying? What's happening here?
No. Listen, it is whoever the Prime Minister hired to do his social media, everybody should employ them because he's doing a good job. His popularity, it has been consistently up there because of it. Obviously, we live in the days of AI, where the where based on the algorithms, you gain popularity, and the prime minister has gained a lot of popularity.
So Doc,
But in terms of his performance,
yeah. So Doc, how do you
how much
rate
is
how do you rate the government delivery on its transformation agenda? Now that's a big conversation. But what's your data showing? What information you have on that transformation agenda?
So I think sometime last year I wrote an article in the paper I think it was the George One paper that I mean you have to because I want to know who we have to start making decisions based on evidence base. And we conducted the study, the election study, 696, okay, the election study, their research paper in 2022. We identified why people voted, why the youths voted for the prime minister, why the 3,500 NNP supporters voted the NNP. Okay, and why the 18% of the most educated people voted for the NDC, because there is something called the transformation agenda. This transformation agenda initiated a new way of thinking, a new way of life in Grenada. We make decisions based on data, based on evidence. We treat everybody equally. All of that, it was sold and marketed very effective to the people. And what we have seen over the last 3 years is that the transformation agenda, had a silent death. But however, what we are asking the PM and his advisors, they need to restart this transformation agenda, because it's the Achilles heel. Because if they do not continue with that, they will lose the support, and therefore the government has to be focused.
Dr. Pierre, Dr. Pierre, a question just came in from a viewer, said that, well, the PM travels a lot, but he brings back benefits, significant benefits. That's the view of one viewer.
Well, okay, good. So when we say benefits, in terms of, I'm not an economist, so in my preparation for the show, I got some information from an economist. Well, but if we look at the benefit, we want to know what benefit. Well, there is MOUs, yes, okay, but any MOUs does not translate into actual, tangible benefit, and this is what we want. So, for example, we were in Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, we did a prediction in Trinidad and Tobago. We predicted that the UNC will win.
Yeah.
And we presented the data, some of the data to the PNM. But instead of them looking at the data and say, how can we learn from the data? They were against us, CIA, whatever. But the prime minister of Trinidad, within 100 days, she got 94 million grant from the government of China. You don't really have to go outside. You don't have to leave outside and travel to bring business. In fact, the opposite. Okay, many governments in the region have what is called travel policies. If the minister travels, it must be based on either it's sponsored or something like that.
Let me tell you one of the benefits. Tonight, I heard the Prime Minister talking about one of the benefits is that he had discussions with the CEO of a major airline, I think it is in Ghana, and there's a probability of the future there will be direct flights to the Caribbean. That's a benefit, isn't it?
That's great. That is great. But some of these things could be done. I'm not saying that the Prime Minister should not travel, but some of these could be done in terms of technology. But we have to look at the cost to the government. I mean, if the government of these foreign governments pay, that's fine. But in my opinion, as a researcher and as someone who deals with data, the data does not show that
Dr. Pierre, let me move on to your 2026 forecast. You are saying that based on what you're seeing from the data that you have now, that 4 current ministers will lose their seats: Minister Joseph Andal, Dennis Cornwall, Tevin Andrew, and Minister Lennox Andrew. And you are saying that they are vulnerable and possibly they could lose their seat Mr. Peter Davids knew the movement may capture 2, St. Patrick's East and the tongue of St. George. And so it gives us 762 prediction, 7 for NNP, 6 for the current government, and 2 for Peter David. So there is a possibility of a coalition government being formed, something new to Grenada. What would have been driving you from the data that is going to speak about that, apart from the transformational agenda dying? What are you seeing from the data that gives you the idea of that could be a possibility if the election is called?
Very good. So for my prediction, as I said, we ran some modeling, and we said that if elections were called today, we have a close to, I'm like a margin of error 1.9. So it's very very positive that the NNP will get more seats than the NDC. Okay, our prediction was based on not just polling, but we looked at models. Okay, we looked, as I said, we based on the voter universe that we have, based on the polling station, we can see and observe the sentiments of the people. We can see and observe what is taking place in these constituencies. We can see and observe that if election was done, was called, Mr. Peter Antoine would most likely be victorious in St. Patrick's East. Okay, and obviously Mr. Joseph Andel in St. Patrick West will lose his seat. Dennis Cornwall, Tevin Andrews in Carriacou, Lennox Andrews. And what we have done, we found that there were about between 2022 to 2025, there were a difference of about 14% drop in their popularity. And this was largely due to the necessary maybe inability to deliver what they produce. Okay, deliver what the people expected, and this is done basically by in terms of when we looked at it based on the 2022 what people expected. There were like 20 things that the population expected, but however in these constituencies there was a 14% drop in their rating, and if obviously there's a 14% drop, we most likely know that it would not be favorable for them. So we predicted that. Also,
so, Dr. Pierre,
that
we
yes?
running short on time as usual, and we come in close to the end of the program. So my last question to you, apart from inviting Byron, if you had one message for the PM and the Grenadian people, what would it be?
Well, for example, if I had a message for the PM, I would tell the PM, you need to stay here, stay in the country for a while, because gain the confidence in the people. You cannot lead from abroad. Nobody leads from abroad, and you have to be present. Okay, also. He needs to stay, be more interactive with his ministry, and it's not coming from me; it's coming from the data that we have. Also, he also has to have presence in his constituency, because what we're seeing in his constituency is not the right picture, in the sense that he still has a large, he still has a 16% gap. Lead over his incumbent, over his and the opposition. That's the NNP. But what we have to look at is that this person, the NNP person who is in St. David, 7 months ago, no one knew her. But the amount of of advances she made on the prime minister in those short period of time, 6 months, 8 months, is too close for comfort. And the PM has to revisit his methodology, especially in his constituency. Or if he does not do that, something would happen. Because we believe that, he has to take this thing seriously. In the next 18 months, we want to ask the government and the party itself, okay, to start using data to make decisions.
So that's a question. I'm coming. So Doc, that's a question I'm coming to. So as a data scientist and a political observer, what does your research tell you about the future of leadership in Grenada? Are Grenadians becoming more data driven or still driven by personality politics? Where are we here?
So this question is like twofold. So we still we're getting more and more involved in their data, but as I said, there's a huge resistance. There's a very high confirmation bias, because people love the prime minister. They don't want anyone to say anything bad about the prime minister. But I, as a patriot, as a patriotic Grenadian, I said that if the people cannot tell the prime minister, I have to tell him, because we make evidence based on data, and I do not know if anyone provides that level of intelligence to him. Because if they did, if they did, they would have said, Prime Minister, go in your constituency, look what the people are saying. So I don't believe that that data is important, but people still are into the pen and paper. Sometimes you listen to persons on the radio, they're just talking. They have, no evidence. It's not based on anything, based on their feelings. And we, sometimes you hear these famous talk show hosts, and we're asking them to conduct surveys. Find out what's the profile of an NNP or NDC supporter. Conduct research. We're asking the people, make decisions, start conducting research, because other countries in the Caribbean, other political parties conduct research. And we want to, my goal, for example, is to bring what I do in Grenada. Maybe we have maybe 500,000 Grenadians just doing this work, because there is a lot of opportunities in it. And let's start making decisions based on data. And that's how we tell the Prime Minister.
Doc, based on your work, of course, some of your reports or some of your findings, as you say, that are data-driven, are not necessarily favorable to a government, or it might be interpreted unfavorable or otherwise. Are you getting any feedback from the administration or any other political parties in your work?
Well, yes, but I think that it is apparent that what I say has or maybe based on social media, has hit a nerve with the organization. But that's okay. I think that I'm a statistician, so the statisticians are the true representative of the people. Okay, we are the true representative of the people. We provide the evidence blindly on a plate. But that is not normal. In 2022, when we predicted that the NDC will win, we got the same challenges from the NNP. Okay, now we predicted, it's just confirmation bias. But what I'm saying is that our information, what we do, is based on sound science. Sound science, and that's why we're getting more and more popular. That's why we've been reach out to other governments and because they see the importance of it. We have to start making decisions based on data. As I said, we have been collecting data in Grenada for a very long time.
Doc, we run out of time. Let me give you the opportunity to make some closing remarks. That's all the time we have. Pleasure having you. Final closing remarks.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Some closing remarks, summary. Anything you want to close off with at this time, Doc? Hello?
what I want to say, I want to thank you very much for
Yeah.
reaching out to me. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to converse and to reach out to the Grenadian people. As I said, I'm Grenadian, born Grenadian, patriotic. I'm from the island. I'm from the village or the city of Fontenoy, you know. And if anyone can reach me, my email is cjustinepierre@gmail.com, or they can reach me on WhatsApp at 647-966-4783. I repeat, 647-966-4783. And I want to thank the viewing public. Thank your show, Brian and Byron and Chris, for having me. And thanks the viewing public. Thanks all my family and friends, you know, Zahori and Nazir and everyone, okay, and you know, everybody, okay. Just, you know, we want to thank everyone, and thank you for having me, Brian.
Dr. Pierre,
Pleasure.
thanks. Chris, close up, yeah.
Yeah, pleasure, Dr. Pierre, for having you again. I suspect we'll have you again as we get closer to the election.
Of course.
And when,
Yeah,
when the dates are
Yeah,
announced
it's-
and so on and so forth. So,
Yes,
again,
and so
it's a
I just
pleasure.
wanted
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are in maybe in a few months, you know, we will be doing one. We will be doing another in 3 to 6 months. We will be doing another poll, because that's to prepare, because we do a series of polls of vote, but we'll get more and more data, because we have some challenges. As I said, we had some challenges lastly with our model, our psychological models. Because, for example, when we were in Guyana, we had predicted that a lot of the black votes would have gone to the ruling party, and that was a challenge. That was a mistake we made. So we kind of tightened up some screws. Went back to the drawing board. Also in Grenada, at this point in time, we cannot make predictions under 200 votes. So let's say that we believe that persons will win in a margin of less than 200 votes. The computer cannot make proper predictions. So we still have to do a human override.
So we
But,
do.
hopefully-
So in other words, you'll be doing follow-up work, and we really appreciate that. But as Chris said,
Yes,
we're definitely out of time, and we look forward to having you
Yes.
in the future. So viewers, that's all the time we have. We want to remind you that tomorrow, of course, is the Peace March at 3 o'clock at the Tantine Roundabout. Those can make it, sure. So on behalf of Chris, myself, MTV technical staff, have a good evening. And we see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.